Good evening. Welcome to the 2024 BCS College Night. We appreciate you taking time out your busy schedule to join us. Hopefully you get some nuggets of wisdom and understanding that can help guide and direct you into your future. Let's begin with a word of prayer from our president, Mr. Jay Bertram.
Good evening. Let me just ask, how many of y'all, this will be your first one heading off to college? Oh boy. Okay. My last one is a sophomore in college, and it seems like every year all the rules change. The FAFSA, the process, and I wish we would have been doing this when Megan and Hunter were going through school. We were with Abby, it made such a difference. So I really appreciate Granville, DeShandra, Terry for putting this on and making it available. I promise you, many of the things that you will hear about that you think, that's not interesting, please listen to that piece of it. Doing the FAFSA correct, filling out those, it can literally mean the difference in tens of thousands of dollars. There is so much aid available, especially for the kids that achieve the way that ours do. You just have to know how to go after it and get it. And Granville and DeShandra do a great job of making sure your bear is set up to be able to do that. I will share with you, our kids went through ACU. That's $48,000 a year on block. I don't want to spend $200,000 on undergrad, and I didn't have to, because there are citizenship grants, there are Christian school, and it's not just in a school like ACU, it's also at our state schools. That's one of the things about your kids graduating from here. Their level of achievement will actually will avail them to many opportunities. So just know that they're there. Spending a little bit of time on it can truly make the difference in affordability and also opportunity of choice and accessibility. And so you've got some great folks here that will guide you through that and work with you on it. And never forget, year 2 when it changes, you can come back and ask questions then too. We're here to help make sure your kids get all the way through college. That stick rate is really important. Starting over costs a lot of money. So making good choices up front and being settled into it can really make a difference. So in order to lay this at the Lord's feet and make sure you can make the best decisions possible, let's go to Him in prayer. God, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for opportunity. I thank you we live in such a blessed place that our kids can look and have choice about where they want to go and learn what they want to learn. Set a course for their lives that will set them up to not only have opportunity to succeed, but put them well ahead of most to succeed. God, we realize these gifts come from you. We also realize that when we are gifted with opportunity, we're to take advantage of that and to work that opportunity to your glory. And then God, when success comes, that we give you the glory, that we share what we have learned, what we have gained, and we can make this world a better place by making it more in your image. God, thank you for the parents here tonight that are closing out a portion of their journey with their kids as they look at graduating and getting them ready to go into adulthood and independence. I pray for each step of the way that you are firmly there in every decision that's made. God, we will lift tonight up to you in Christ. Amen. Thank you all, and welcome to Brentwood Christian School.
Thank you, Mr. Bertram. Next slide, please. Let me talk about the overview of tonight's activities. Of course, this is the kickoff presentation. This will be between 30 and 45 minutes long. And then we will all transition over to the FLC, where 23 colleges and universities are already set up awaiting your presence. At 7:45, that is when we will begin winding down the event. And then at 8 o'clock sharp, we will end the event. Students and families, God has prosperous plans for you all. Students, going to your college of choice, your university of choice, this is one of the most important decisions of your life. So let me ask of you that you get God involved in the decision on the front end instead of going to plan B and consulting God at that point. Let's consult God's word as directed, as far as how he wants to prosper us and has great plans for us. Jeremiah 29:11 through 13. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Students, in life sometimes things don't make sense. So I want to encourage you at these moments when you aren't clear on what the next step is, get God involved. Pray about it. Seek him, and he promises he will listen and he will answer. Proverbs 16:9. The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Students, it's great to have a plan, but sometimes our plans are not in alignment with God's plans. I want you to start looking for the open doors that God provides, which leads me to Revelation 3:8. I know your works. Behold, I've set before you an open door, which no man is able to shut. I know that you have but little power, and yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. God always opens doors that only he can open and no man can close. I want you, as you talk to these colleges and universities this evening, look, listen for the open door. Now we have here images of the 23 schools who have committed to coming tonight. So you look, you recognize probably most of them. Some you may have never heard of. I encourage you to visit as many of these schools as you can. I discourage you from visiting one or two schools only. I want you to experience different schools, different opportunities, because that might be the door God has for you. So make yourself known. I will tell you this. College admission officers, they remember names and they remember faces. And so it's great for you to make yourself known so that when your application comes across their desk, they can put the association together. It's very important. Now these are for my visually oriented people. Let's go to the next slide. And these are for my verbal linguistics. These are the 23 colleges and universities that are here tonight. Feel free to take shots, photo shots if you like. And we will go there after this session concludes. Next slide. Some data for the class of 2024. Our BCS class of 24 received approximately $9.2 million in scholarship offers. That by far is a school record. Now, y'all know we all competitive here, right? So raise your hand if you're the class of 2025. Class of 2025, I see a few hands. Look, a challenge is before you. Can you top it? Can you beat it? I will tell you, Ms. Booker is going to come talk about scholarships on the second part of this presentation. Listen, scholarships do not jump in the boat. You have to go fishing. All right, you have to put the work in, okay? Now, over the past 3 years, approximately 15% of our students have graduated under the standard graduation plan, 60% under the advanced graduation plan, and 25% under the distinction or distinguished graduation plan. Our average SAT score for our students last year was 1184, which far exceeds the Texas average of 978 and the U.S. average of 1050. The average unweighted grade point average of the class of 2024 was 3.74 out of 4. We currently offer 8 AP advanced placement courses, 2 pre-AP, and 17 honors level courses. Now, I do want to pay homage to the 3 schools for the class of 2024 that admitted the most students, the most BCS students. So these are roughly 2-minute videos. Texas A&M, you see out of our graduating class, 14 have committed to and attending Texas A&M. 6 have committed and are attending Texas State University, and 4 University of Texas at Austin. So we'll go through these videos. They are roughly 2 minutes each, but if you can give your undivided attention to these 3 videos, it'll be greatly appreciated.
You ran in one of these buildings and find out something interesting.
I've always been into bugs.
I like to hot glue things to things. That's been my latest trend.
I wanted to do memorials, and then I wanted to design the tallest building in the world.
I'm actually planning on going to law school.
I might look at maps and just look at the roadway network and be like, how could this be better, or why do they do it like this?
I like governmental systems, so maybe politics is where it's at.
I want to enjoy the ocean. I want to get out there and go diving and save the turtles.
I definitely want to work with sharks, and I want to work with bigger sharks. Hopefully, this will be the next self-driving car. It needs to be a little bit bigger, though.
We study spinal cord injury, and the whole goal of our lab is really trying to get at the root of why these things happen.
I just love the world that, people create just from their imagination.
I really like the line between art and writing. I like visual storytelling, but I also want to tell the stories.
I asked if business students can get involved with healthcare. Texas A&M, they looked at me and said, we send business students to medical schools every single year.
It has a focus in academics, sports, all these different programs, so many different opportunities for every person.
Definitely follow your dreams, because once you get here, opportunities will open.
There's so many cool things I'm getting to do and will get to do, and that I can see all my friends doing. You don't have to choose between what you think your heart wants and what your mind wants. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can do it all.
You can be someone that designs something that impacts the whole world. Everyone wants to see you succeed. That's going to enable you to go places you never thought you would.
Texas A&M looks at you in the eyes and says, this is what you want to pursue, and we're going to allow you to pursue that relentlessly.
You can be on campus, you can be different, you can be yourself, you should be yourself, because that's what makes campus beautiful.
We all have to just explore. You're able to start walking down that path to who you are, and then back up to what we share in Texas A&M.
A great deal began for me some 38 years ago on this campus. Here the seeds were planted, from which grew my firm conviction that for the individual, education is the path to achievement and fulfillment.
Our story began 125 years ago with a dream to educate, inspire, and build a stronger Texas. Growing from a single building on a windswept hill, we've overcome challenges with courage and imagination and set our sights ever higher.
We're not really going to get uptight about it. We've got a motto all year long. We're going to do our best. We're not going to sweat the rest. Winning will take care of itself.
10, 5, touchdown, Bobcat.
A legacy of students using their talents and putting in the work to make the world a better place in ways great and small.
How many bright youngsters have been discovered and inspired who might otherwise have been ignored? How many families have fulfilled the dream of college for their children?
We've pushed the envelope, grown beyond what our founders could have imagined. We've embraced the future, found strength by breaking new ground, and never forgotten the most precious values that unite our people across the years. Curiosity and generosity, dedication and drive. We've expanded our worldview, and we've reached beyond our borders to be a positive force around the globe. Watch the growth of our institution, of our community, and you see us bringing the promise of America to life. Our roots, so humble in the beginning, now bear fruit that flourishes around the world.
For this entire land of ours, it is the most important door that will ever open. The door to education.
This is our legacy, creating opportunities for a better future today, tomorrow, and for the next 125 years.
It starts here, in this field, in this lab, in this classroom, in this town, and in this pool. It starts behind the scenes, over early mornings and late nights. What starts here changes the world. We're pushing ourselves further, faster, digging deeper, climbing higher. On the global stage and at home in Texas, we're expanding our knowledge. We're drawing on our roots and looking to the future. We're unlocking our potential, bringing ideas to life. By embracing challenges, we're reimagining what's possible. We're building a vibrant future through our creativity, entrepreneurship, the humanities, and communication. We're saving lives and transforming healthcare. Our time, our moment is here, because what starts here changes the world. What starts here starts with you.
Texas A&M University, Texas State University, University of Texas at Austin. Before I continue, I want to give special attention and thanks to several members in the audience here. One, I want to thank Mr. Rispoli, who's recording this. The recording will be available on our website sometime soon. So thank you, Mr. Rispoli, for taking time out your evening to record. Also, I do have 3 students who are helping us. Max, why don't you wave at everyone? Max is helping us on soundboard. Lily, why don't you wave at everyone? She's also helping us on soundboard. And then Rachel, can you stick your head out? Rachel's waving at you from the back there, from the video booth. Thank you so much. Also want to thank Mr. Jennings, who did a great job helping us get ready for this event. Now, our BCS class of 2024 has been sent by God to blank college campuses across the country for Christian leadership and service. And this is where I want some participation from the crowd. It's a fill-in-the-blank answer, all right? Raise your hand if you think that number is at least 10. At least 10 campuses. Keep your hands up, okay? All right. Thank y'all for having faith in us, because yeah, it's definitely 10, right? Now, keep your hand up, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up if you think it's at least 15 schools. 15 different schools. Keep your hand up. All right, good, good, good. Oh, keep it up, keep it up. All right, keep your hand up if you think it's at least 20 schools. 20. Ooh, y'all have big time faith. That's good, that's good. Raise your hand or keep it up if you're at least 25. At least 25. All right, now look around. Someone who has a hand up is right. You can put your hands down. 27. 27 college campuses have been blessed with our class of 2024 graduates. Students, wherever you go, whatever college campus you're on, you're there to be a light, shine. Next slide. Scholarship money, that is free money for college. If you're in the top 10%, money coming. If you have a rigorous course selection, including honors, pre-AP, AP, dual credit courses through Oklahoma Christian, ACC, and others, money coming. If you have a 1300 SAT score or higher, fill in the blank, money what? If you score 27 or higher on the ACT, family, money. Now, research and apply early for these scholarships. I mentioned earlier, they don't jump in the boat. You have to go fishing, okay? Now, college visits. Currently, I'm working on trying to get together a tour to a college campus this fall and one this coming spring. And the plan is to load up our chartered bus with 45 to 50 students, and so it's limited. So when you start seeing the emails about sign-ups, students, first come, first serve. Once we meet that number, the cutoff number, that's it, okay? But make sure you are a part of these college tours and visits. There's nothing, the videos are good, but it's nothing like going to the college campus and actually putting your feet on the ground, because you get the vibe of the campus. You get a feel of what that school is about, particularly when students are on campus, and you kind of feel like, discern what the feel is amongst the students, and you can talk to the students for authentic communication. So go visit these schools as much as possible. I highly recommend that also you find colleges and universities that have special nights or special weekend events, such as Liberty University's CFAW. CFAW is college for a weekend, and literally for a weekend you stay on campus, you actually go to some actual classes, and you hear the instructors teach. You actually go to football, basketball, whatever season it is, you go to those games. They have a lot of concerts built in for those weekends. Go to Liberty University's site, look for CFAW, sign up. It's in Virginia, but you can get there, okay? LSU has something called Kickoff LSU, all right? Very similar, but it's normally a day event, but definitely go and visit, put your feet on the ground and walk that campus. Texas A&M, Aggieland Saturday, the date is there, they've already posted it for February the 8th of 25. Raise your hand if you've ever visited Texas A&M University. Okay, a lot of you, good. UTSA, now I love UTSA, but look, in full transparency, I'm gonna tell the rep this when I see them tonight too. They probably need to change the name from UTSA Day to something a little, more saucy than that. But it's called UTSA Day, okay? And that is the date of that. I believe that's a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. But it is a good event. We're just gonna work on that name a little bit, okay? College BCS lunch visits. We had one today from Harding University. I normally send out a Google form for students to sign up. Now, what are you signing up for? Some of these schools actually bring you food if you sign up. Now, I'm never going to announce which schools are doing that, because what would happen, family, if I did, we'd be overrun with those visits, right? But do sign up though, because even if they do or don't bring you food, you're on the mailing list, and you get inside information that others might not get. So when you see those emails, students come from me about signing up for an upcoming visit from a school, sign up for it, because you might get some perks from it. Family, campus visits, we already talked about it. Do visit. Visit as often as possible. They do also have visual tours as well. Next slide. All right, you notice steps 1 and 9 are the same, because you need to bookend this decision in prayer, all right? Start in prayer, end it in prayer. Pray something like, God, give me clarity. Open doors are only for me, and close every other door. Make it plain and simple for me to see and to understand. You will need high school transcripts. Coursework matters. Schools look at your pre-AP, your honors, your AP level courses, how many you've taken. They actually monitor that. They have their own weighting system where they scale that. So they do want to see that you are taking rigorous coursework. Weighted GPA is the GPA where you get the multiplier bonus, a 5% multiplier for honors and pre-AP, and a 10% multiplier for any dual credit and AP courses. Unweighted GPA is apples to apples GPA of your GPA compared to every other high school student in America. It's on a 4.0 grading scale, okay? So unweighted grade point average, apples to apples. You will need a resume. And the key to your resume, students, is you have 30 seconds to impress someone. HR directors have been surveyed, and they say within 30 seconds, they decide whether or not to put that student record in yes, let's dig further, maybe, or no, they're not for us. So your resume needs to have some pop to it, all right? Don't get too wordy with it. You can Google search, get a lot of help. You can come see myself or Ms. Booker. We can help maybe vet through some of your resumes for you. We'd be happy to do so. Personal statements are your essays. There's plenty of free online practice for that. Ms. Booker is really good about meeting with students and working on essays as well. And then Khan Academy, I've gotten some good feedback from students and families who've utilized their SAT essay practice. Letters of recommendation. Now, if you fill out a Common App, I automatically will upload your transcripts for you, okay? But also, letters of recommendation, they normally want your counselor to give you a recommendation, so I typically do that for every student that goes through Common App, okay? Next thing, college applications. Apply Texas only applies to 60 Texas schools. It's in red because I want you to avoid Apply Texas. It's in red because I want you to avoid Apply Texas. Third time for the Holy Ghost. Avoid Apply Texas. Why, Mr. Jones? Because it's clunky, it doesn't upload well. Other colleges and universities have given us feedback that's not working well on their end either. Avoid Apply Texas. If you work for them, I apologize. Common App is in green. I want you to use Common App. We want you to use Common App. Common App is slick. It is very user-friendly. It uploads everything. You can check your status. Use Common App. Use Common App. Use Common App. Find somebody near you. Look at them. Look at them. And tell them, use Common App. All right, assessment scores. Most schools are now still saying they are test optional. They are saying they're test optional. A few schools now have gone to it's mandatory again, and we theorize that's going to be more of a trend, okay? What Ms. Booker and I typically tell students is, once you find out the average SAT or ACT score of the school you are applying to, all right? It's called Common Data Set. I don't know, are you going to talk about Common Data? Yeah. Once you find out the average for the SAT or the ACT, if your score, your best score, exceeds that, submit your score. If you're applying to a test optional school and your score is not to the average, don't submit your score. The TSIA is a college readiness exam given by ACC. So some of you may have taken that as well, okay? Interview, practice. Go on mock interviews. Myself and Ms. Booker, we'd be happy to do that. We can get a panel together and we can run you through some mock interviews, okay? That'd probably be good for us to do maybe this spring, as a matter of fact, right? And again, wrap it up in prayer. Sandwich lifetime decisions in prayer. Begin and end in prayer. Amen? Ms. Booker.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. So first of all, I move when I talk, and I also I take something that makes my mouth dry out. So if I drink while I'm talking, please don't mind that. Please overlook it. I am Mrs. Booker, Deshandra Booker. I have been at Brentwood. I am starting my 14th year here, but I have been in this role for the last 2 years. I want to let you guys know that for many of you in the audience, I have watched your kids come in as itty bitties. I've watched them come in as kindergartners, and now they are leaving as emerging adults. And so I want you all to know that when you step foot into our office and we're talking with you all, this is personal for us. We have watched your children grow up. They are, in many ways, I feel like they're mine. And so just for you guys to know that when we're working on this, this is a partnership. And I am very much committed to your students going to the places that they would like to go. And I am very, very much committed to them being able to go on someone else's dollar. For us, we came to Brentwood because we thought it would be an investment. We felt like with the results that Brentwood has, putting our child here, we would be able to recoup the funds that we spent on her education K through 12. And by all means, that's exactly what we're doing. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of just how you get started. The question that usually comes up when folks are talking is, I don't know what to do, I feel like we're so behind, or you have those that are like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but I really want to get started early. And so what we're going to hit on just for a few moments here is, what do you need to do to get started? I encourage, strongly encourage, and what I will do when I'm ready for you to move slides, I'll point to you. Does that work? Awesome. Okay. I encourage you to follow this chart here. Your freshman year, it is go time. Like sometimes folks are thinking, oh, there's really nothing for me to do until I'm a junior. Not true. Freshman year, my strongest encouragement for you is to make a plan and to get a spreadsheet, and that's what I have here, and create a tracker. By the time you get to your senior year and you're filling out applications, you are not going to remember 70% of the things that you've done. And one of the things that I find when visiting with students, and I'm sure Mr. Jones can say the same, our kids are humble. They just do not pull all of the things that they've done. And humility by all means has its place. That is who God calls for us to be. But when it comes to the college application, that is not the time. We want to tell them everything that you've done, everything that you've participated in. And so when we get a little bit later into the slide, I've got a QR code here. You do not have to use the sample that I've put together, but I encourage you, regardless of where you are in the process, at least when you start that freshman year, start tracking that information. And so we're going to be looking at all of your awards and all of your recognitions. So if it is Citizenship Honor Roll for all 4 quarters freshman year, put it on there. If you have been working on a special project with someone, you want to put it on there. The reason I've got volunteerism bold is because I really want us to stop and take some time to think about all the ways that we can serve and the leadership opportunities that it provides for us. So at Brentwood, we're a smaller school, and one of the guidelines that we have in place is that if you are serving as an officer for one of our major organizations, you can't have 2 leadership roles. So I couldn't be president of STUCO and also be president of the National Honor Society. And so one of the ways that I encourage you to make sure that you get those leadership opportunities is through volunteerism. If you start off your freshman year, it gives you the opportunity to even start exploring some career paths. If you're interested in going into law in Cedar Park, in Round Rock, and Georgetown, as well as in Austin, there's a teen court. What a great opportunity for you to start getting involved. You can start to explore whether or not that career is really actually something of interest to you, but look for opportunities to serve. Again, that gives you additional leadership opportunities. And so everything, we're tracking it all. So if you got awards for track and field, if you got awards for TAPS, for TICSIT, whatever the case may be, all of it's going to go on that spreadsheet. And my encouragement would be is that just maybe every 3 weeks on Saturday morning, family makes a big breakfast, and that's the time to kind of go in and download all of that information. So when you get to senior year or the summer of your junior year, and now you're needing to go fill out those applications and indicate all of your leadership and all of your activities and extracurriculars, it is not a, oh my gosh, what was it? You can go through and know exactly how many hours you spent, you know, when you did it, who you did it for, and if you needed to reach out to someone for a recommendation, you're tracking their information as well. When we get into sophomore year, am I still on the mic? Can you hear me pretty well? When we get into sophomore year, again, we're talking about volunteerism. My strongest suggestion is when you get into spring and summer of your sophomore year, let that be the time you take your very first full SAT, ACT. So here at Brentwood, our students are blessed. They will start in 8th grade taking a pre-SAT. And research shows one of the #1 ways to be able to improve that score is by becoming more and more familiar with that test. And so if you take it early, and I know you're thinking, oh gosh, you know, sophomore year, yes, because if you've got any gaps that you need to close, this is the opportunity to be able to do it. You can identify, maybe I need to work on my math a little bit, maybe there are certain sections I need to work on. And Mr. Jones mentioned earlier that Khan Academy provides tutoring. Am I going in and out?
Hold your mic up.
Right here?
Your hand needs to go up on the mic. I think you're covering.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, so he mentioned Khan Academy. That does sound much better. Let me just tell you this. They provide free training, and what happens is when you plug in your SAT information, it's all connected, and it will draw down and even go to the level of specificity to say, hey, these are the types of math problems that she needs to work on. The one-step algebraic formula she's got, but multi-step, this is where the gap is. And so they guarantee that if you work on that for over the course of a year, that you should be able to improve your score by 100 points. The goal is we don't want to be at crunch time trying to deliver. The earlier we can get started in this process, the better positioning that we're going to be in. In the summer, Mr. Jones mentioned this as well, but college visits. Sometimes we wait because I just had a student that graduated last year. There is a thought to think, oh, we'll do that junior year because we're so far out. Do you know what happens in the summer of junior year? What happens age-wise it happens to many young people? 2 things. They usually get a driver's license and they usually want a job. And so if they're working and they're driving, suddenly where you thought you had all this time during the summer, it's gone. Or they've got it occupied with other things. And so if we can get started on that in that summer, that sophomore year, that's awesome. Also, being able to do some college programs. It doesn't have to be the expensive ones. Like you will see some that come out from some of the Ivy Leagues, and they might be $3,000 or $4,000. That's not what I'm talking about. I am a knowledge junkie, and so when I go online and I do webinars like with College Board, and there are all these universities that are online, they are not drawn necessarily by those really expensive summer programs because they recognize that those are more geared towards folks that just have the access to be able to afford them. They are looking for you to participate in things that are going to be of interest to your major or do some college prep. My daughter did a college prep program in Atlanta for 2 weeks and it was phenomenal. So someone who's doing an intensive training, you get the opportunity to be on a college campus, and again, that's something else that's going to go on your resume. So now when we get into junior year, in my opinion, this is really kind of when go time starts. So when we're looking at that fall, this is our chance to do some retesting. Go in and really determine which test do you prefer. Some prefer the SAT, they like the formatting of the SAT. And then there are others that say, gosh, I really feel more comfortable with the ACT. I will let you guys know that in spring of 2025, the ACT is going to be changing. They are dropping the science portion, and they are also going to go to a digital test. And so that will be a great time to go in and consider taking that test. Another piece of information that I will share with you is that the ACT, 2 times a year, sometimes 3, they offer you the option of being able to buy your test. It costs a little bit more, but it is so worth it. You will get your student's test back, you will get the answer sheet back, and then you can go through and you can really start to identify yourself, and that student can sit down and say, hey, the places where we missed things, and they tell you what the correct answers are as well. So the places where things were missed, are these gaps? Was it that someone was reading through the questions too quickly and you need for them to slow down? It's a great, great, great opportunity to really see where you've got some opportunities to be able to improve that score. Again, if you've got test prep, this is the time to get it done during your junior year. The funding conversation. One of the things that I encourage families to do, I encourage students, I encourage parents, talk about money. The student, ask your parents, how much, if any, are you going to be able to contribute towards my college education? Some will say, gosh, you know what, we've already got a savings plan set aside and we've got you covered to X amount. And then for others, it might be, wow, we're not really sure yet. And you can start having that conversation early. But the point of it is when we start building that college list, if we don't have money set aside, we may not want to be looking at the school that's like $95,000 a year. We want to keep all of those pieces in mind, and we want to start working on scholarships early. But have that conversation just to talk about it, to get it on the table. And then when we get to the summer, again, we are going to be taking those final SATs and ACTs. This is the summer going into your senior year. And this is also a great time to start thinking about requesting your letters of recommendation. I'll talk about it now. One of the things that college campuses, especially those that are more competitive, have communicated is that they absolutely want to know the character of the student. Like, everybody might have great grades. And there are many students, especially when you're looking at some of the Ivies, all the students have strong SAT scores. All of them have strong ACT scores. The difference is who are they putting on that campus? Who is going to come into that campus and be transformative in that space? And so when we are writing letters of recommendation on your behalf, we are not just retelling the story of your transcript. Our goal is to communicate who you are as an individual. We know who you are. We have worked with you guys for years, day in and day out, whether it's coaching on different teams, whether it's coming into our offices, we know who you are. And so our objective is to be able to communicate that to the folks who are doing and reviewing your applications. One of the things that we did last year is that we incorporated, and our seniors know this because they completed it as soon as they got back from their senior retreat, and it is called a Student Success Showcase form. And the objective is really to get our students thinking about, what things do I value? What's important to me? So that when that recommender is writing a letter on your student's behalf, that's what they can communicate. They're not just going to retell Johnny has a 4.0 GPA. These are the things that he has a heart for. These are the things that he desires, and this is how he will come onto your college campus and be able to improve that space. And then college essay applications. I am so thankful to our English teacher, Mr. Mayfield. I went to him this year and I said, gosh, I would really like for our students to be able to write their essays in class. One of the things that I saw last year, because you get a little bit of experience, the delay in applying to college often comes because students are thinking, I don't have time to work on that essay right now. I don't have time to work on that essay right now. You don't want the essay rushed, because again, this is your time to be able to communicate who you are, but I also don't want you guys applying late. And so since we know what those essay prompts are in the spring, our seniors were able to write their essays this year in class. And so now it's checked off the list. That's one more thing. When you come into fall, between getting ready for football and Bellas and all of those different things, that has been completed in class, and now your English teachers had a chance to review it and give you quality feedback. Moving forward, we will do that in spring for our juniors. So as soon as we know what those prompts are, when our juniors are done taking their AP exams, that will be how we transition. And so when our students go into summer, they have got a great essay in hand, and now we're ready to start that college application process. And we want you to start it early, and we'll talk a little bit more about why. And so when we come into fall of your senior year, where are my seniors? Yeah, when we come into fall of senior year, you guys are busy. You are the leaders on campus. We expect you to be spiritual leaders. You're oftentimes leading your organizations and your teams. And so what we're wanting to do here is come in, and it's kind of like wrap-up time. We're putting bows on everything. Now, if you find that you are not at that place yet, I do not want you to panic. Do not panic. We are going to work together, and we're going to get you to where you need to be. But if you have followed the plan and this is where you are, things can you can kind of put things in drive now because you're in the driver's seat. So we're going to do those final college applications. You've got your letters of recommendation that have come in, and you can get those uploaded. And so the objective is, I want you to finish working on those college applications early, because there are scholarships, really large scholarships, that begin opening and closing as early as September. Right now. And so if your focus is just on getting applied to college, you know what you do? You're not thinking about scholarships yet. That's kind of in the distant future. I want you guys to be able to wrap up those applications so that you can start applying for those scholarships, because most of the country is also really busy right then. And so I want you guys to be the ones that are able to take advantage of those opportunities. And then next are your honors colleges, because once you've gone through and you've got your basic application completed, now you can kind of start putting, the bells and whistles on. So you can start applying for those competitive scholarships that are available at the schools that you're applying to, as well as to be able to get into their honors colleges, because those always come with additional perks. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so this is the term that I use. It's SLAM. When you guys are thinking about, hey, what am I looking for in a college? How do I want to do this assessment? We're looking at SLAM, and that is size, location, academics, and money. And these are important pieces to think about as you're putting together your college list. So when we're talking about sizing is not just going to be like, hey, is it a 50,000 person campus or is it a 1,500 person campus? But you want to think about what types of amenities does that school offer? What type of programs do they have? So if you're really into sports, do they have sports? Do they have large athletic teams? What kind of support services are they going to provide to you? Do they have a writing center? That is key. For my seniors out there, I encourage you, take advantage of the Writing Center. There is a huge transition that happens between writing in high school and writing in college. And I'm not gonna slam, because I love you guys to bits. But one of the things that has happened, because we do so much texting, we are not used to writing in complete sentences and communicating our full thought, and you've got to be able to do that when you're on a college campus. So take advantage of those writing centers. You can write your paper a little bit early, take it to the writing center, and that can be the difference between getting a B on a paper and getting an A on a paper. But you want to know that they offer those services. Do they offer free tutoring? All of those pieces will come with the size and considering the size of the school that you're considering attending. So keep those pieces in mind. One other thing that I would encourage you to know is think about your average class size. You guys are coming from Brentwood. Our classes typically do not go over 30 at all, but you could be sitting in an auditorium with maybe close to 500 people. Is that going to be a problem for you? Those are pieces that you want to consider. For some, it's like, no, not at all. I felt like I was in a fishbowl all this time, and I'm ready for it. Know who's teaching your classes. Many schools, you can get information, and you can ask questions, and you can ask questions tonight to find out in those courses, especially those core courses, who is doing the teaching? Is it the professor whose name is on your schedule? Are those classes being taught by TAs? And so those are just pieces that you want to consider as you are making your college decisions. And then location, 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 location. And so if you know weather-wise, oh man, I cannot stand the cold. University of Michigan is probably not going to be on your top 5 list. But those are things that you need to think about, because sometimes we just think, oh man, this is the school that I've been dreaming about and thinking of. And we've got to think about, this is going to be your home for the next 5 years. And so my daughter, she has got a deep fear of earthquakes. She's never been in an earthquake. She's never lived through an earthquake. But I don't know if she's seen it on television. So the West Coast was on for her. Even just whenever it came up, she talked about earthquakes and she talked about wildfires. And I thought, what in the world? But if you know these things already, let's go ahead and take that into consideration when we're building our lists. And then thinking about in-state, out-of-state. If you are someone who very much wants to be close to home, you've got, not that you don't have a close bond if you choose to go out-of-state, but if you are like, gosh, I want to be able to come in and see mom and dad, maybe, every other weekend, you going to the East Coast may not be the best suggestion. But some of you guys are ready to take flight and full-on flight. So take those pieces into consideration. How far away do you want to be from home? And when you're considering that, also make sure you think about the cost. Because there's some cost with a student being very far away, because when you're going to see them, it's not a car drive, for a couple of hours. It's a flight for maybe 5. And then academics, obviously you want to make sure that the schools that you are considering offer your major. And don't just offer it, but make sure that they are kind of established. You want to know that they have a reputation. Are they ranked for that particular major? Mr. Jones and I went to a session on Monday, and I was very surprised to learn that OSU has only had a nursing program for 3 years. That was shocking to me. It doesn't mean that you take them off your list because they've only had that program for 3 years, but it might mean that you want to ask some questions. It could be that they are very cutting edge because it is new and they recognize that it's new, and so they're trying to do everything they can to be out in the forefront and be out in the lead. But it could be that it's not quite off the ground yet, and so those are pieces that you want to be able to take into consideration. And then last but certainly not least, is let's talk about money. Sometimes students will stay away from private schools and they think, oh man, gosh, I looked in there, the sticker price is like shocking to me. It's going to be, the cost of attendance is going to be $75,000 a year. That's way outside of our price range. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to look at Texas Tech for $29,000. I encourage you not to do that. There are some tools that we can use to get an idea of what the average aid package looks like, particularly with your stats. And I will tell you that many private schools may seem like a reach in funding, but they have many endowments. They are looking for our students. They look at our profile and we fit the ideal student, and that is a blessing. And so we want to be able to take advantage of it. And so there were many cases where schools that started off with maybe a $70,000 a year price tag ended up being cheaper than some of our flagship in-state schools for us based on the offers that were received. So do not dismiss those schools just because of that price tag. And making sure that we talk about, we want to talk about endowment, and we talked about public and private. Okay, perfect, very good. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so building our college list. One of the things that I saw last year, and I realized, maybe I'm taking for granted that everyone knows how to put together their college list, and so we don't want to do that. It is important that you have a wide array of choices to be able to choose from. And when I say a reach school, if you're kind of qualifying maybe like at the 20% or less, or they only admit maybe 20% of their applicants, so 2 out of 10, that is a reach. That is a reach school for anyone, even if you have a strong SAT, ACT, ranked top 10%. So I will use the example of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, their average SAT score is like a 1550. That is pretty close to perfection is their average SAT score. It is going to be a reach from almost anyone who is applying. And so when you're going through and putting your list together, you do not want to have okay, there we go. You do not want to have a list that only exists of reach schools. You want to have some targets in there, and a target is where you're probably sitting in about that 35 to 40% range. So it's not a slam dunk that you're going to get in, but it's pretty likely. And how you're going to determine what level this school is for you is going to be by looking at the common data set. Every school is required to publish that information, and I feel like it is like the golden ticket. And they published it very quickly. It is a federal mandate, and so I can tell you that almost all schools already have them out for the freshmen that are there right now. That is how live this data is. And so this will let you know how many females applied, how many males applied, how many got in. When you're looking at SAT scores, it will tell you, hey, this is what the top 75% look like. This is the range they were in. This was their medium range. This was their lowest 25%. It lets you know where you fall in that tier. And it goes into detail to let you know what things do they value. So when they're doing their assessment of your application, it will tell you, hey, these are the things that are very important to us. These are the things that are important to us. These are the pieces that we consider, and this is the stuff that, hey, we just don't even care about. And that lets you know, so when you're crafting your application, that's where you're going to target. You're going to target at those pieces that they have already communicated are very important. And every single school publishes this information. It's public data. You have to dig into their website to be able to find it. But if you do a Google search, you're able to pull that information. And then I think every student should have 2 safety schools. And by safety, I mean like not just a slam dunk from an academic standpoint, but if push comes to shove, these are the folks that are also going to show you the dollars. So if you're sitting in the top 10% of someone's applicant pool, so your SAT is sitting up there and your rank is sitting there, all those pieces are together, the chances are not only are you going to get a merit offer from them, but it's probably going to be a very competitive merit offer. You've got a good feeling sitting with you when you know that you've got someone in your back pocket. You know that I've got a fallback to go to. And the other piece of that, the reason that I strongly consider going through and applying this way, is because even if you get into your reach school, and this is a school that you really, really want to go to, but that offer is not sitting quite where you want it to sit, if you've got other schools that you've applied to, now we've got the opportunity to be able to reach out and say, hey, I would like to do another consideration. Can you take another look at my merit offer? I've got this offer over here from this school. You want to be able to kind of compare like kind and quality, but if you've only applied to 2 schools, and one was your safety school and one was your reach, they're not really apples to apples. And so they may be like, okay, well, that doesn't say anything. But if I've got an offer on the table from Texas A&M, and then I get a really good offer from Baylor, and now I would like to be able to go back to Texas A&M and say, hey, I would like for you to take another look at my merit offer. I've got like, kind, and quality to be able to have that conversation. And I cannot tell you how many students I know that have been able to use that tool to be able to get additional funding. Next slide. So now we're talking about applying and how do you apply. So there are 3 different ways to be able to apply to school. There's early decision, there's early apply, and there is regular decision. I'm going to tell you, this is the mommy hat that I'm putting on right now. I am not a huge fan of early decision. Early decision means that you are locked. You say, this is a school, this is my #1 school, I'm going to apply, and if you accept me, I am agreeing in a binding contract that I'm going to rescind and release all offers that I get from other schools. And it is binding with the one exception that something dramatically changes in your financial abilities, and so you're not able to afford it, or by the time they provide you with your financial aid package, it is agreed that this is not a gap that you're going to be able to close. There is one circumstance when I would encourage you to consider an early decision, and that is when you are applying to one of your really, really elite schools, and you are really trying to show a demonstrated interest. Obviously, schools want to be able to protect their yield. That means the number of students that they admit. They want a high number of those students to accept that admittance offer. And so they are looking to accept students that they think are very likely to attend. So if I don't think Mr. Jones is going to come to my school, and I've got all of these applicants, I'm probably wanting to go with students that I tend to believe are going to attend. And so in that situation, again, if you're applying to your Ivies, maybe like your Rice, some of those that are kind of considered to be the new Ivies, I would encourage you to consider. If it is your absolute #1, and by hook or by crook, that is a school that you would like to attend. Otherwise, I heavily encourage you to go early apply. And the reason I say early apply over regular decision is because to the victor go the spoils. And so those students who get their applications in early, those are also the first students to start getting their merit offers. You do not want to wait until regular decision. We went to one meeting and they were very clear in saying 70% of their money is doled out to early apply. You do not want to be kind of left like scraping the barrel at the end. And the other piece of that is you want to know. You want to be able to go into the Christmas holidays and have an idea of where you're going to school, where you've been accepted, and what your offers look like from those schools that you've been accepted to. Regular decision, like I said, you're waiting until the end. I don't think it's a good look, one, and you're getting the leftover of the money, and that's not what we're looking for. Next slide. Holistic review, the holistic review process. Mr. Jones touched on this a little bit earlier, and he talked about the fact that many schools are starting to transition back and require tests. I encourage you, even if you're not submitting your scores, take the test. Take the test, work on the test, keep working on the test. Because many schools, even if you're deciding not to apply with that test, there are some schools that will let you submit a subsequent test score earlier and move up on their merit offer scale. Some do, all don't, but some do. And then the other piece of that is schools are saying the reason that they're asking for those tests is because they're needing to get an idea of what level of resources do they need to have available for a remedial work. So if there are students that are coming in and they're going to need additional work with math, or they're going to need additional work with English, they want to know that on the front end. I don't know if that's the case, but you will definitely have additional tests that you have to take if you do not have a test score. So take the test score. The other piece of that is many schools, you're not going to be able to go into their merit offering if you don't have a test score, or if you do, you're going to go into the lower tiers. So work on those. So let's try to get them moved up. I have two pieces that are in bold here, and I realize we're running short on time, so I'm going to try to go very quickly. The two that I have in bold, when we're talking about the essay, your personal statement, and your letters of recommendation, this is your opportunity to showcase you. If there is a blemish on that transcript that you want to be able to address, this is your chance to be able to address it. When you're writing your essay, you want to show them who you are, and this is your chance to be able to do that. If there has been something that has happened in your life, and I'm not talking about writing a sob story, but I do think it's important to communicate different things that have gone on with you. If you have just transitioned into a new neighborhood and a new school at the start of freshman year, you might want to share about that experience and what it was like and how you were able to overcome that. But this is your chance to tell your story. It's your chance to tell your story in the essay, and it's your opportunity in your Student Success Showcase to be able to communicate that story to the persons who are writing your letters of recommendation. One thing that I learned about, and I very much want to incorporate here, it doesn't have to be for every student, it wouldn't be effective for it to be for every student, but certainly for students that we have that are wanting to go to those more competitive schools, is that there are colleges that are starting to do group and collaborative letters of recommendation, with the idea of, like, the student is about to go to graduate school, they're trying to get into a graduate school, and so we're going to have several professors from the English department write a letter on that student's behalf. I love that. The things that we hear out there that are trending in higher ed, those are the same pieces that we're going to come back and we're going to give to our students. You guys are the best. You are talented. I've worked with you for years and years and years, and so I take it as my personal challenge to be able to communicate just what outstanding students you guys are, and I know that is the same with all of our faculty and our administrators who are writing letters on your behalf. But I wanted to speak to those pieces because we definitely want to communicate the portions that are over and beyond just what's on the application. You can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide. This I do want to touch on just very quickly, because I know that you guys are not here to see me. You can see me anytime, but there are universities over there that you guys do want to see. I just want to share this with you, some helpful tools. When you are writing your essays, I think there are a few things that are more powerful than being able to see what successful writing looks like. Every year, the Crimson Review will put together a list of 10 essays that were successful in getting into Harvard. And so I've got something else on my mind. And so I encourage you, go through and read those essays. They're not lofty. They're just telling their story. They might be talking about a relationship with a grandparent, but it gives you an idea of what people think is successful. And not only do you get to read the essays, but the reviewers actually go in and talk about why this essay stood out to them. And so I think that is a powerful tool to be able to use when you're writing your essays. College Aid Pro, this is a website that will let you enter your stats, and it will give you a kind of a projection to say, hey, on average, this is the kind of aid that this school will offer to you. This is the type of merit that this school will offer to you in comparison to their costs looking at your stats. I think that is awesome to know up front. There are some schools that I can tell you that surround the state of Texas that price and give merit very generously, and particularly to our students. So if you're looking at like your LSUs and University of Alabama, those schools in Arkansas as well, immediately, they may not do state reciprocation to where they say we're going to treat you as an in-state student, but their merit package brings it way down below to what those in-state students have. So keep those pieces in mind, and if you're wanting to know what those schools are, come by and see me. And then of course the common data set. Can you click on that link real quick for me? CDS, this is actually the current one for Texas A&M, and as you can see, it is pages long, but it is so specific. If you will scroll down, and I'll tell you when to stop, just keep scrolling. Okay, start slowing down. Oh no, go up one more. Go, I'm sorry, up. Scroll down. Come on. So stop right there. So this lets you know, like as you're looking, these are the students that were applying. These are the students who were admitted. So you're getting detailed data, so you've got an idea of where you are going to stand. If you can scroll so that we're going further down, I want to go to the higher page numbers. Thank you. Okay, stop right there. This lets you know, like, hey, these are the units that are absolutely required. So if you don't have these credits, you're not going to be able to get in. But they also go as far as say, hey, this is how many we suggest that you have. And so obviously you want to be in the suggestion mode. Every single college and university provides this information. You just have to dig to find it. I encourage you when you're going through and giving your analysis and trying to decide what school you want to attend, go through and dig for this information. Go down to where we're going up into higher pages. Okay. Okay, keep going. Here we go, stop right there. This is the one for me. This is where you want to sit, and this gives you an idea of what those SAT, ACT scores look like. This tells you, hey, if I'm wanting to get an offer from them, I might need to bump my score up. It might be, hey, I'm sitting pretty. I am in the top of the top. I might take the test one more time just so that I can get additional money. But this lets you know kind of where you're sitting, and I love that. And it will go through and break it down even into smaller percentages for you to know, hey, 19% of those students were able to get in their reading and writing were between a 700 and an 800. 26% were in math. Like, this is detailed data for you to be able to know these are the schools that you're attending and to know what their results typically look like. Okay, you can exit out of this and then we'll go to the next slide. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you. I have put a QR code on here for you guys and talking about forms so that you guys, you do not have to use these, but this is what we used in our house, and it was great for being able to track information. For my seniors, as you guys are applying to schools, there is so much information. When you start getting those acceptance letters and you need to start setting up your logins and your passwords, this was what we used to be able to track all of that information so that I knew what the information was if I needed to go in and look at something, and she knew what the information was if she needed to go in and look at something. So we started off, one tab was just tracking the schools that she applied to. We would color code based on when she was accepted, and then there was another tab, and that's where we managed money. So every single scholarship that she applied to, it went on the sheet. Every scholarship that I learned of, every scholarship that she learned of, it went on the sheet. If it was something that she missed the deadline on, we put it in red to never let it happen again. But otherwise, this is what we did. There are many pieces that are going on in this process. And so I want you guys to have the tools to be able to effectively manage it. And then the other is a sample activity tracker. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning, to be able to track all of the things that your students are involved in. You do not have to use these, but why reinvent the wheel? You can take these, it will be as view only, so that someone doesn't start any of their information and then someone else overrides it. Just make a copy of it, and then you can change it and tweak it the way that your heart sees fit. Did everyone get a chance to get what you need? If not, this will also be shared. This whole presentation will be shared, and you'll have a chance to access it then as well. Next slide. Okay, so we are coming to a close. First of all, thank you guys for being here. There are many other places that you guys could have been tonight. This is not the end-all be-all by any means. Mr. Jones and I are available anytime. Tonight, I want you guys to take advantage, go over and talk to every single school that is over there. Even schools that you think are not necessarily in your comfort zone, get some information about them. You'd be surprised at what you might learn. As Mr. Jones mentioned, we're going over to the Family Life Center. That's where everyone is set up. At 7:45 is when we'll begin to wrap up, and 8 o'clock is our hard stop. And it's only because you guys have got to be here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning. So make sure that you guys go over, visit. And again, do not hesitate to reach out to Mr. Jones or myself. Set up appointments, and we will be glad to walk through this in much, much more detail. Thank you guys for being here tonight. You all have a good evening.